I've come to realize that how we teach about entrepreneurship and finance and personal finance in this world is almost utter crap. And I am not impressed with it. What we tend to do is emphasize heroes and upsides, and we forget to teach people about risks and downsides. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Mastak. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward to help you out as much as I possibly can. So what I've come to realize in a lot of entrepreneurship and a lot of personal finance, or even finance, the way that we teach finance in a large part of the classes that we teach at business school, is we teach about picking stocks, or we teach about picking the entrepreneurial hero that demonstrates and does something that nobody else could do. Or we teach in strategy, for example, we teach about how the best firms actually perform. But in fact, that's not what the reality is. What we should be teaching about is how the average performs. And in terms of personal finance, we should never be teaching about how to pick the best stocks in the stock market, because it's impossible to predict what are going to be the best things in the stock market. There's always some reason that is a chance event. There is some sort of happenstance. There's something that makes it irregular. And we know statistically for a very long time that is impossible to achieve as a whole. It's always very difficult to beat whatever the market is, because we just don't have the information available to ever be able to do that, to figure out what is going to be the best possible outcome. And in the entrepreneurial hero, if we only select on the best ones and we look at the best ones, well, we're neglecting the vast majority of the cases and entrepreneurs and the strategists and the firms that never do that well. And that is the vast majority that don't do that well. And the vast majority actually kind of does average. And that's what we should be talking about and teaching people about. So the lessons that we often draw when we see these things is that we can pick the best stock in the stock market. So we learn and we teach about what are the best possible stocks to actually look for. Or the news that we see on CNBC or any news channel is talking about all this kind of what's happening in the stock market and how things are going up or going down, and we should do various different things. When in reality, none of that stuff really matters. Then in entrepreneurship, what we tend to do is say that you should do all of these very risky things, these kind of almost dangerous things with what you are doing. So for example, in order to become a successful entrepreneur, you must drop everything and go and pursue that entrepreneurial venture and spend 5 years of your life trying to do it 100%. Or you should get large amounts of loans. You should go and get some sort of large loan. You should go to the bank and get mortgage your house, for example, or try to get some sort of crowdfunding, when in fact the vast majority of crowdfunding actually doesn't work that well. It works because your friends and family want to give you a little bit of money, and often a lot of people don't have the personal networks to be able to give that much money unless you're actually coming from a very wealthy personal network, or you know a lot of people that have a lot of wealth. And so there is a lot to be said about the strategies and things that we teach, because they don't look at the average person, or they don't look at what normal people actually should be doing, and we look at these outlier events. And so the teaching and the lessons that we give are often off the mark. And instead of teaching what I would do is to pursue your entrepreneurial venture, in your spare time, to do it as a hobby, to do something that's fun and exciting, and do it as something that you just kind of putter around on from time to time. And you do that for decades until it becomes something that is actually viable. Or you spend a little bit of your money. So instead of going out for dinner or getting something, maybe a new car, you say, well, instead of getting that new car this year, what I'm going to do is take the $3,000 or $4,000 that I would have spent to spend on the payments that I was going to take to get that new car. I'm going to spend that and invest it in my own personal venture. And I do that every year, no matter what, investing in something that you think is what you're interested in. And you repeatedly do that time and time again. Or in terms of personal finance or finance in general, not worry about what the stock market's doing and not worry about what's really going on, and just think you're investing in the global economy. And you can bet that the global economy is constantly going to be going up. And so how do you actually invest in the global economy? Well, you just invest in every company that is out there, and those are easy to do. It's called mutual funds or index funds. And those are very easy to do, and you're just looking to see how it goes up. Or you see that instead of putting all of your money in one basket, you say, well, I'm going to invest 10 to 15 to 20% of my income, no matter what, in all these other firms that are out there, all of the different mutual funds that are out there, or different companies that are out there. And by doing that, I'm diversifying something bad happening with what's going on in my own life, because I don't know what's going to happen with my own entrepreneurial ventures or the things I actually do. There might come a moment where I lose both of my arms, and what do I do at that moment if I don't have both of my arms? Or I lose my eyesight or my ability to speech, and what do I do? And if I'm not diversifying and taking some of that risk out of that one thing that I'm doing, then I'm going to be stuck. So in terms of thinking about personal finance and entrepreneurship, what we should be instead teaching about the average. We should be teaching about the mediocre. We should be teaching about what regular everyday people should be doing, and not focusing on those superstar performers that frankly most of us will never get to. It is too difficult to actually get there because they started off at a different spot than we did. So you will likely never be able to achieve the stuff that they do, or they're exceptionally lucky. They did something that was very, very risky, and the vast majority of the people would never actually get there, and they would end up in a different result because they were risky, and the chance, the side of the coin flipped the wrong way. So what I'd recommend for you to do when you're watching this video is to question where you stand in terms of what you're doing in your entrepreneurial ventures, or whether it's your personal finance situation or whatever, and just question and just do kind of ordinary things where you're mitigating risks and you're just focusing on doing the regular, boring stuff that nobody else wants to do. If it feels like work and it looks boring, it's probably the right thing to do. Do the ordinary, do the basic, and just constantly be doing that day in and day out.